My wife noticed that I had changed. On our third wedding anniversary, she skipped our candlelight dinner to accompany another man. Yet I calmly went home alone, without asking her a single question. On my 24th birthday, she drove away again just because he called her. I didn't get angry either. In fact, I even reminded her to drive safely. But my wife grew increasingly uneasy. On her way home, she texted me asking what gift I wanted. I replied calmly, "You've already given it to me." Confused, she rushed back only to find that the huge villa no longer had any trace of me. And on the dining table lay a divorce agreement, one she had apparently signed at some unknown moment. Today was the very first day the agreement took effect. Chapter 1. George, are you really going to leave Willow behind and go abroad? In the quiet cafe, I put down the spoon in my hand and looked at my friend across from me who wore an expression of shock. My tone was calm. I'm already divorced from her. What? Divorced? Caught off guard by such explosive news, my friend David was utterly shocked. The next second, he began speaking up for me angrily. Willow actually agreed. You treated her so well these 3 years, anyone would have warmed up even if they were a rock. Does she really have no feelings for you at all? I smiled faintly, my eyes flickering. Actually, I didn't even know whether she agreed or not. Half a month ago, when I gave her the divorce agreement, she signed it while answering a phone call. She didn't even listen to what I was saying before rushing off. She never asked about it afterward. Now, I only need to wait another half month to get the divorce certificate, then I'll be free. I was just about to speak when a gentle female voice came from behind us. Are you done talking? We both turned around and saw Willow in a black suit dress, long legs striding toward us. David was still simmering with anger from moments ago and was about to question her. Willow, just now George said you two are div. What brings you here? I placed a calming hand on David's arm, shook my head slightly, cutting the words off at the right moment. She smiled. It looks like it's going to rain later. I came to pick you up on the way. I returned a small smile. After saying goodbye to David, I stood up, grabbed my bag, and left with her. On the way back, the rain pattered softly, while the car remained silent, facing the husband she'd accidentally married back then. Willow parted her lips several times as if trying to start a conversation, but then she remembered she hadn't been home for half a month. After a long silence, she finally seemed to recall something and spoke. George, what was that document you asked me to sign half a month ago? Only now she remembered to ask. Well, she had spent the past half month revolving around Makoto. How could she care about something so trivial? I curled my lips, just about to answer, when her phone rang again. Willow, I drank too much. My head hurts. Can you come pick me up? Hearing that slightly whiny tone from the other end, her long fingers gripping the steering wheel turned pale, and her expression darkened instantly. Makoto, I've told you so many times, I'm married. The other end fell silent for a moment before saying, so what if you're married? Back then, the groom at that wedding was supposed to be me. His careless tone completely infuriated her. In the 3 years we'd been married, I had only ever seen her calm and composed. For the first time, I saw her lose control. She slammed the brakes, the tires screeching loudly against the ground. Then why didn't you show up? The person on the phone went silent. After a moment, his voice came back slightly choked. Sorry. I won't bother you anymore. The call ended quickly, but her expression didn't improve. If anything, it sank even further. Her fingers tapped on the steering wheel. After a long moment, she finally gave in completely and typed out a few words, as if resigned. Send me the address. Seeing the address he sent back, she turned to me with guilt written all over her face. I knew what she was about to say, so I spoke first. Go take care of what you need to. I'll take a cab back. Watching me open the door and raise my umbrella, she ultimately couldn't help feeling bad. She said softly, once I'm done, I'll come back and accompany you. I nodded, standing in the rain, watching her drive away. A swirl of complicated emotions surged in my eyes. This was my 7th year liking Willow. I still remember the moment I fell in love with her at first sight in the dance studio. She was wearing her practice skirt, her graceful figure swaying as she moved. With her talent alone, she won the provincial dance competition and became the shining star that captivated the entire audience. The fanboy beside me shouted excitedly, explaining her background to a newly arrived classmate. From the Design Institute, Willow Liu, a legendary figure at University B. From the well-known Liu family in City A. But unfortunately, in the school belle's heart, there had always been only one person, Makoto, her childhood sweetheart whom she had dated for many years. She would spend extravagant amounts of money to rent out the entire sports field to perform just to celebrate Makoto's birthday. She would swallow her pride and publicly beg him to get back together. All because someone had confessed to her and Makoto, jealous and childish, blocked her on purpose. She would wait for him in the snow until her hands were frostbitten. Yet even if Makoto ditched her to play basketball with his roommates, she never complained. During all 4 years of university, I heard countless stories about Willow and Makoto's romance. I always thought I would be like a background character in a romance novel, quietly witnessing the two of them end up together. Until 2 years ago, when Willow graduated and couldn't wait to marry Makoto. I didn't receive an invitation, but I attended that grand wedding anyway, as a classmate. But even as the ceremony started, Makoto still didn't show up. Willow went mad, calling him 99 times. All she received was a text from him saying he didn't want to get married so early, and that he had already left the country. Willow's patience finally ran out that day. She stopped tolerating his tantrums and picked up the microphone. Today, I, Willow, have decided to change the groom. Which single man would like to volunteer? I had always been the quiet, unremarkable one, barely noticeable. But at that moment, my heart pounded wildly. I knew too many people liked Willow, so the instant her words fell, I stood up immediately. That day, I put on an ill-fitting suit and married the girl who couldn't even remember my name. For the next 3 years, the two of us lived respectfully and peacefully as husband and wife, until a little over a month ago, when Makoto returned to the country. Watching Willow resist him, yet still instinctively gravitate toward him, I knew my long dream had finally ended. It was time for me to return this position to who it belonged to fulfill her devoted love, and to completely free myself. In the pouring rain, I sent Willow a message. The document you asked about is in the drawer of your passenger seat. If you want to know what it is, just open it. Chapter 2. It wasn't until half an hour later, after I had already reached home, that Willow finally replied with a single sentence. No need. Since you asked me to sign it, it naturally won't harm me. Which meant, of course, that she wasn't going to read it. Of course not. She was in a rush to pick up the drunk Makoto. How would she have time to check it? Even though it was right there within her reach. The rain lasted the entire day and didn't stop until the following evening. I stayed home the whole time, quietly deleting all the posts about our married life from every platform. After clearing my moments, I backed out of the app and immediately saw Makoto's newly posted 9-photo collage. They were pictures taken on a yacht, every angle deliberately chosen, and each one showing a woman's slender hand. I knew it was Willow's, and I also knew Makoto did it on purpose. But now, I no longer cared about such trivial things. I turned off my phone, stood up, and went into the kitchen to prepare a salad myself. Just as I finished making dinner, Willow suddenly came home. Seeing the cake in her hand, I froze for a moment. You don't even like sweets. Why did you suddenly buy a cake? She walked over, glanced at my dinner, and frowned slightly. Today is your birthday. Did you forget? Why are you eating such a simple meal? I was stunned. When I was 4 or 5, my parents divorced and left me with my grandmother. When I was 15 or 16, my grandmother passed away. With no one to care about me, I stopped celebrating birthdays altogether. But in the 3 years after marrying Willow, she remembered every single one. No matter how busy she was, she always made time to come back and celebrate with me. Whenever I returned from long trips, she would worry about my safety and personally pick me up from the airport. Whenever there was any anniversary, she would personally prepare something, giving me unexpected surprises. I once thought all those small gestures of care and kindness meant affection, until 1 month before our wedding anniversary, when she used work matters as an excuse to cancel the candlelight dinner we had reserved in advance. Disappointed, I went to the bar because David called me to bring him a jacket, but instead, I unexpectedly ran into Makoto. He was dead drunk, holding onto the woman who was supposedly working overtime, refusing to let go. Her face darkened, and she pried his arms off angrily. Makoto, don't you dare pull this crap again. Let go. What do you take me for? Something you can toss away and pick up whenever you feel like it. Makoto didn't listen to a single word she said. Using the same hand she had pushed away, he wrapped his arms around her waist again, over and over, relentlessly. In the end, she finally gave in. She stood there dazed, eyes lowered, filled with restrained affection as she looked at him, her voice soft with surrender. Makoto, what am I supposed to do with you? At that moment, the bag in my hand slipped to the ground. Countless images flashed through my mind, the tightly interlaced hand squeezing through a crowd, the tilted umbrella in the pouring rain, the figure in a graduation gown offering a ring in proposal. Every scene was proof that Willow's heart belonged to Makoto alone. I had witnessed those moments with my own eyes, so I couldn't deny the truth. Not even after 3 years of marriage, not even though I was her husband, not even though I had once received a bit of her kindness. None of it changed anything. To be precise, whatever little affection Willow ever showed me was nothing more than what I had stolen during Makoto's temporary absence. I clung to those crumbs of sweetness, thinking I had obtained everything, but in reality, I had never possessed her, not even for a single second. So looking at the 24 on the cake, I felt nothing. I simply bowed slightly out of politeness and said, "Thank you." She lit the candles and smiled gently. "George, we're husband and wife. Don't say thank you like we're strangers. Make a wish." I nodded. I had just started to stand when her phone rang. Seeing the slight tremble in her eyes, I knew exactly who it was, so I sat back down, and just as I expected, a minute later she hung up, and Willow left again. Hearing her car gradually fade into the distance outside the window, I curved my lips into a faint, bitter smile. The room lights were off. The flickering candles cast my lonely shadow onto the wall. I pressed my hands together and made my wish for my 24th birthday. For the new year, George will no longer love Willow. Chapter 3. 3 days later, our class of 21 from the College of Computing had a reunion. I only realized after arriving that Willow was there too. She was surrounded in the center of the group, but the moment she saw me, she immediately walked over and sat beside me. Seeing the two of us sit together, the atmosphere in the private room suddenly became strange. I knew the reason, because of me. In the eyes of our university classmates, I married Willow simply to climb the social ladder, so no one respected me, but I didn't care about their malicious assumptions. I simply sat quietly, keeping my composure. The class monitor arrived late, carrying a big cardboard box, and greeted everyone. Thanks for coming today. First, it's a chance for us to reconnect. Second, our old activity, write a letter to yourself 5 years in the future, just reached its time limit. So let's read them together today. Instantly, everyone rushed forward, excited and noisy. Let's make this fun. Everyone randomly picks a letter and reads it out loud. Nice. Let me pick one first. The most energetic guy in class squeezed forward and drew a letter. The people beside him urged impatiently, so he quickly tore it open, cleared his throat, and unfolded the paper. Dear George, 5 years from now, how are you? I'm writing this under the sunlight, and although I don't know where or how you'll be when you read this, I want to convey the feelings I have right now. After the first paragraph, the room fell completely silent. Everyone's eyes moved toward me. Even Willow, who had been playing on her phone, lifted her head and looked at me in surprise. My face, usually expressionless, stiffened instantly as I remembered the contents of that letter. The guy glanced at me mischievously and continued reading. This year, you're 19, a sophomore, and you've fallen for Willow, but she doesn't know. And even if she did, it wouldn't matter, because she already likes someone else. Your secret affection is destined to go nowhere. You might ask me, if the ending is set, why can't you give up? What I want to tell you is this: what I like is her irresistible charm when she moves forward fearlessly in front of thousands. Her unintentional kindness when she picks up my fallen book in the evening breeze. Her sincerity and politeness even when she rejects someone's confession. I'm the one whose neck gets sore from turning to sneak a look at her during morning meetings. I'm the one who braves storms to put medicine in her desk when she gets hurt from dancing. I'm the one who fills my entire diary with her name through the night. Maybe she won't remember me for the rest of her life, but that's okay. Secret love is always a one-person war. When the letter ended, the entire room was dead silent. Willow's entire body stiffened. Suddenly, she remembered the wedding that year, the one she hated thinking about. She remembered the moment, surrounded by odd gazes, when someone stood up without hesitation and walked resolutely toward her. Only at this moment did she finally understand why I married her. Not because, as others claimed, I was trying to latch onto power, but simply because I had quietly loved her for many years. Her long silent heart suddenly began pounding uncontrollably. On impulse, she wanted to ask all the questions buried deep inside her. But before she could speak, Makoto's call came in. Willow, I'm downstairs at the club, some debt collectors have me cornered. He hadn't even finished when Willow's expression changed drastically. She shot to her feet and rushed downstairs. The moment she saw the group of fierce-looking men, she raised her fist and charged, fueled by anger. Her blows were harsh and heavy. Within a few punches, she beat a man until blood spurted from his mouth. The group behind him hurried to shield Makoto. He cried as he said one of the tattooed men threatened to chop off his hand. Hearing that, Willow immediately grabbed a steel rod from nearby and smashed it down on the thug's hand. A scream of unbearable agony tore through the air. I rushed downstairs, and this was the scene I saw. Seeing the man's right hand mangled and bleeding, nearly destroyed, I froze. Instinctively, I looked up at Willow, but all I saw was her turning away, shielding Makoto as she left. The person who had just acted with cold, brutal decisiveness had now softened completely, switching to a gentle tone, comforting him carefully, a level of care, one I had never received. I lowered my eyes, hiding my emotions, and let out a self-mocking smile. Then I quietly turned around and went home alone. It wasn't until early morning that Willow finally returned. Seeing me sitting silently on the sofa, she suddenly remembered to explain. George, today, they were all classmates. I couldn't just ignore Makoto's situation. I didn't want to expose her excuses. I simply responded softly, and carried my clothes into the bathroom. Half an hour later, when I came out drying my hair, I saw her holding my phone, her expression slightly strange. George, why did you buy a plane ticket? Chapter 4. I froze for a moment, then quickly reacted and took the phone back. I didn't buy anything. It must be one of those airline discount ads. Willow wanted to ask more, but seeing that I didn't wish to continue, she suppressed her curiosity. After all, I had never lied to her, had I? So she put the phone down, nodded, and was about to wash up, but I stopped her and took out the first aid kit from the cabinet. You got cut on your back by a shard of glass. Let me take care of it. Willow paused, then obediently sat on the sofa and took off her jacket, revealing the cut. It wasn't a deep wound, but because it was on her back, no one had noticed. She didn't expect me to notice either. As she watched me carefully disinfect the wound with a cotton swab, she remembered the letter. George, about that letter today. Just rinse it when you shower later. Otherwise it might get infected. And be more careful when you fight next time. Don't get hurt again, because no one will be there to treat you. I didn't give her a chance to ask anything. Interrupted mid-thought. Willow didn't catch the last part of what I said. She lifted her head. What did you say? I said nothing. I shook my head, tied the bandage, and walked into the bedroom. By the time I finished drying my hair, Willow had also come out from her shower. She wrapped her arms around my waist and tiptoed, trying to kiss me, but I turned my head away, avoiding the warmth of her lips, my tone indifferent. I'm not feeling well today. I want to rest early. Willow didn't insist. She tucked me in gently and turned off the lights. The next day was a beautiful day. While I was washing up, I heard loud voices downstairs. When I walked out, I saw Makoto arriving with a group of people. Willow leaned against the doorway, frowning, her tone returning to its usual impatience. What are you doing here? Before Makoto could speak, a few of his buddies stepped forward cheerfully. Makoto said you bravely stepped in yesterday, and he's really grateful, so he insisted on coming to thank you in person. Before the words finished, Makoto pulled out a huge bouquet of flowers and an exquisitely wrapped gift as if performing a magic trick. Willow, thank you for helping me yesterday. Just a little token of appreciation. Willow didn't reach for the gifts, but her expression softened. Noticing this, Makoto directly shoved the bouquet into my hands, his tone far from polite. These are Juliet roses, Willow's favorite. Do me a favor and put them in a vase. Hearing this, Willow's brows pinched tightly, her voice laced with coldness. Things you like, don't put my name on them. And George is my husband. Don't treat him like he's your servant. The atmosphere instantly turned icy. Only my expression remained unchanged. I looked down at the beautiful bouquet in my hands, the first time I learned its name. Juliet roses. Ah. Makoto liked them. No wonder she went to great expense cultivating that variety in her greenhouse. But I said nothing. I simply handed the flowers to the housekeeper and instructed. Please bring down the vases from the display cabinet on the second floor. Makoto's gaze toward me turned oddly meaningful. I ignored it and carried my breakfast to the balcony. Even with just a window between us, I could hear the conversation in the living room clearly. Willow, isn't this the paper crane I folded back in middle school? You kept it in a crystal box. If you like it, I'll fold you another box tomorrow. Ah, isn't this the Lego set I threw in the trash years ago? You actually picked it up. Hey, isn't this the maple leaf we picked up at Shangyun Mountain? You really made it into a bookmark and kept it all these years. Listening to Makoto's excited, treasure-hunting tone, I remembered the first time I came to this villa. I had asked Willow where these items came from. She said, little gifts my younger cousin made in kindergarten. I just kept them. I actually believed her back then, completely overlooking the complicated flicker in her eyes, the mixture of affection and resentment, attachment and unwillingness, all emotions that unmistakably belonged to love. Chapter 5. After a noisy morning, Makoto volunteered to treat everyone to lunch. Willow rejected him with a single sentence. No need. If you're done causing trouble, please go home. Makoto acted as if he hadn't heard, pulling her by the hand toward the door. His buddies, afraid she wouldn't go, grabbed me along as well, dragging all of us out. We drove as a group to a hot spring resort. I rarely interacted with them, so I couldn't blend in. Not that I wanted to, I simply sat alone in a corner, watching their lively drinking games. Willow noticed my discomfort, walked over, and tried to pour me a glass of juice. I was just about to take it when she suddenly stood up and walked toward the crowd. Makoto was lifting a glass of whiskey to his lips when she snatched it from him. Then her sharp reprimand echoed across the room. You're allergic to alcohol. You still dare to drink. Are you trying to die? Makoto blinked innocently at her. I thought it was juice. I grabbed the wrong glass. Why are you so mad? As he spoke, he casually took the juice from my right hand, smiling with curved eyes. Thanks. Willow's fingers tightened involuntarily, but in the end, she said nothing and returned to me, handing over the glass she held. Looking at the uneasy woman before me and the golden liquid in the cup, I didn't reach for it. I picked up my bag and stood up, my voice calm. I don't drink. I'll go soak in the hot spring first. Only then did Willow realize she had mixed up the glasses, her mind entirely on Makoto. She had handed me alcohol thinking it was juice. She wanted to explain, but I walked too fast. She didn't get the chance. The warm water soothed my exhausted nerves. Leaning against the edge, watching the rising steam, I grew sleepy and eventually dozed off. Maybe I had become used to noise, because I didn't hear the knocking from outside. Willow called my name several times with no response. Panic rising, then pushed the door open directly. Seeing me half asleep, her heart skipped a beat. She hurried into the water and held me up. I opened my eyes groggily, and because of the weightlessness, my arm slipped around her shoulders. Steam curled around us, skin touching skin. The atmosphere shifted into something intimate. Willow couldn't help but rise onto her toes. Just as our breaths mingled, footsteps suddenly intruded. Makoto rushed in and froze at the sight. The smile on his face solidified instantly. His lips pressed together tightly, shock and disappointment raw in his expression. He turned and left with clenched fists. Willow stiffened completely. Her first instinct was to set me down and chase after him. She only left behind one sentence. He misunderstood. I'll go explain. Explain. We were legally married. Even if he saw us kissing, what was there to explain? But she was still trapped in the past, still playing the role of Makoto's girlfriend in her mind. So of course she would instinctively want to explain. A person who once let themselves be tamed by love will never break the habit easily. Watching her hurried figure disappearing into the distance, I laughed softly, and then my eyes reddened. I wrapped a blanket around myself, opened the window to breathe, and saw Makoto storming out. He yanked his car door open, only for Willow to grab his arm. Their heated argument drifted clearly to my ears. George was asleep. I was afraid he'd catch a cold. Did you really have to get that angry? Yeah. He's your husband. I have no right to be angry. You should just go back and keep him company. Why bother explaining anything to your ex? Makoto, must you say things like this? What did I say? It's the truth. With that, the two parted unhappily. Makoto, eyes red, shook off her hand and sped away. Willow stood frozen only a few seconds before following in her own car. Watching the dusty, silent road return to emptiness, I quietly turned back into the changing room. By the time I finished dressing and stepped outside, a few of Makoto's frantic friends grabbed me. Brother-in-law, something happened. Willow and the others got into a car accident. Chapter 6. When we rushed to the hospital, we saw Willow waiting outside the operating room. She was soaked in blood from head to toe, cold sweat dripping down her forehead, her eyes filled with panic and helplessness. It was the first time I'd ever seen her looking so disheveled. Makoto's friends crowded around her, asking what had happened. She clutched her hair in remorse, her tone full of endless pain. It's my fault. I shouldn't have said those things and made him angry. I shouldn't have let him leave alone. He sped up because he was upset with me. That's why he crashed. Hearing her take all the blame on herself, my eyelids twitched faintly. If those were just angry words, then what were her real thoughts? Had she been waiting for him to come back this whole time? Waiting to get back together? Maybe. I didn't want to think any deeper. A nurse came out at that moment, her face grave. The patient is experiencing massive bleeding, but the blood bank is running low. Is anyone here type O? We need emergency donors. The men all looked at one another. Every single one of them was type B. Only Willow was type O. She took off her jacket and immediately changed into sterile surgical clothing, following the staff into the operating room. Time passed slowly. Half an hour later, a nurse came out supporting a pale and weak Willow. No one knew how much blood she had donated. She had completely lost her strength and collapsed into my arms, dizzy. But the nurse didn't leave. She asked again. The patient is stabilizing, but we still need 400 cubic centimeters more. Can any of you contact friends with type O blood? Everyone made calls during the wait, but no one could find another type O donor. As the atmosphere turned heavy, Willow, anxious beyond reason, forced herself to stand up. Only 400 cubic centimeters. I'll do it. The nurse stared at her in shock. You already donated 600 cubic centimeters. Do you still want to continue? Makoto's buddies all panicked and rushed to persuade her. Willow, stop. I'll have my secretary check the company, see if anyone with your blood type can donate. Willow shook her head stubbornly. Makoto can't wait that long. As she spoke, she rolled up her sleeve, revealing the bruised puncture mark. Seeing her pushing herself this far, I finally couldn't stay silent. The doctors are doing everything they can. They can request blood from other hospitals. You don't need to do this. Willow paused for only a moment, ignored my words, and walked away again. Watching her resolute figure disappearing into the operating room, everyone fell quiet. Makoto's friends sighed heavily. When it comes to Makoto, Willow loses her mind. She once injured her leg fighting for him and stayed in the hospital for 3 months. After being discharged, she went straight to beat the other guy up. Right. In high school she even skydived from 5,000 meters just to win a limited edition watch he liked. Her equipment malfunctioned mid-air and she almost died. And now she's risking her life to save him again. I actually thought she still had feelings for Makoto and tried to help them reconnect. Damn, what a mess. They kept talking, completely forgetting I was standing right there. Listening to all these stories, I felt a distant clarity wash over me. Only now did I understand how laughable my thought had been on the day of the wedding, thinking I could somehow win over her heart. Love is love, and not loving is simply not loving. From the very beginning, I had made the wrong bet. So now, facing this utter defeat, I could only accept it. No one knew how long had passed before the red light above the operating room finally went out. The doctor pushed out 2 unconscious people. Everyone stiffened with tension and surrounded them. The doctor wiped the sweat off his forehead and looked at Willow, who had fainted. With a sigh, he murmured, "They must be lovers, right? Girls this devoted, you don't see many these days." I stood alone at the back. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, I let out a quiet, wordless laugh. Chapter 7. It wasn't until noon the next day that Willow finally woke up, groggy and disoriented. Her mind hadn't fully cleared yet, and the first words out of her mouth were about Makoto. Was his surgery successful? How is he? Did he wake up yet? Watching her anxious expression, I, who had stayed up the entire night, could only nod, my voice hoarse. The doctor said there were no complications. He just needs a few months to recover. Hearing that, the weight on her heart finally eased. But she still wasn't reassured. She lifted the blanket and tried to get out of bed to see him with her own eyes. No matter how much I tried to persuade her, she refused to listen. It wasn't until the nurse arrived with her 4-drip that Willow was forced to stop. Even then, when she saw the large bag of medication, her eyes still flickered with worry, her mind entirely on Makoto. After thinking for a while, she spotted the fruit basket on the cabinet and finally found an excuse. "George, I called Makoto's parents yesterday. They took the red-eye flight home and should be at the hospital by now. Help me bring the fruit basket to greet them, and check on Makoto's condition while you're at it." I looked at her for a long time before finally murmuring an okay. Carrying the fruit basket, I left the room. Makoto's ward was just 1 floor above. When I reached the door, I noticed it was slightly open. Through the gap, I saw Makoto holding an unfamiliar woman in his arms, his voice full of sweetness. "Baby, didn't you say you were bringing your parents to meet me? Why did you come alone?" "I wanted to bring them, but you're still recovering. It's not the right time. Once you're discharged, I'll take you home." "All right." Hearing this conversation, my hand tightened around the fruit basket. Makoto was dating someone, to the point of meeting her parents. Just then, the doctor came for rounds and pushed the door open, startling the 2 inside. Makoto looked up and his expression changed instantly when he saw me. "What are you doing here?" I didn't answer. I placed the fruit basket on the floor and turned to leave. Makoto, dragging his not yet healed body, chased after me and grabbed me at the stairway. "You're going back to tell Willow, aren't you?" I turned my head, catching the flash of panic on his face, my tone icy. "You already have a girlfriend. Why are you still clinging to Willow?" Makoto raised an eyebrow. His expression smoothed out, and he regained his arrogance. "Because I want to have both. Play them both. Enjoy their devotion. Isn't it obvious?" I demanded. "Do you really have to trample on her sincerity like this?" Makoto sneered, clearly proud of himself. "Of course, I have what it takes to make them crazy over me. Even someone like Willow, perfect little princess, can't resist." "What? You jealous? If you admit it, maybe I'll even teach you a thing or two." His shamelessness left me speechless. My silence only made him more pleased. His gaze swept over me and landed on the wedding ring on my hand. "You're just someone who picked up the leftovers. What right do you have to lecture me? Let me tell you, the day I didn't show up at the wedding, I never went abroad. I was just drunk and fooling around with 2 girls until dawn. If Willow hadn't been angry with me, you would never have had a chance to be her husband." The anger I had been suppressing for so long erupted completely. I couldn't hold it back. I slapped him. It wasn't even that hard, but he fell backward as if struck by a hammer, tumbling down the stairs. Before I could process what had happened, Willow rushed out of the elevator, pushing me aside. She hurried down the steps and gathered Makoto, bruised and trembling, into her arms. Her gaze toward me carried unmistakable fury. "He didn't offend you. Why did you hit him that hard?" Makoto intentionally showed the red handprint on his cheek and teared up in her arms. "Forget it. Willow, maybe George is upset because I'm your ex. I don't blame him. Let's just go." In one breath, he cut off every explanation I wanted to make, trapping the words in my throat. As I watched her expression sink darker and darker, I knew, no matter what I said now, it would be useless. Silence, to her, was no different from admitting guilt. Disappointment washed over her eyes. She helped him up and walked away, without looking at me again. Chapter 8. After leaving the hospital, I received a call from the staff saying that my visa was ready. I retrieved all my documents and began packing my luggage. The calendar on the table shed a page every day, and soon it was down to the last few. This year was about to end, and I was about to leave the city I had lived in for more than 20 years. During this entire week, Willow didn't come back even once. Makoto, on the other hand, Sent me countless provocative messages every single day. 7 days before my departure, he sent a video. Willow was half kneeling, gently massaging his calf, her movements soft and tender to the extreme. As I watched the video, I threw away everything I had bought for her over the years into the trash bin. 5 days before leaving, he sent several photos. Willow had delivered a box of jewelry and personally slipped a ring onto his finger. I smashed our wedding photo into pieces and tossed it straight into the flames. 3 days before leaving, it was an audio recording. Willow, even in her sleep, murmured his name with deep affection in her tone. I packed up all the gifts she had given me after we got married and shipped them to a charity. This villa I once considered home slowly emptied out, and my small amount of luggage was gradually completed. The household staff, seeing this scene of total detachment, grew worried and came to ask what had happened several times. I smiled lightly, sounding relaxed. Just divorced, that's all, miss. She agreed. Agreed. I didn't know, but I thought, if Willow were to see that divorce agreement now, she would probably be very happy. After all, her heart and eyes were filled entirely with Makoto. 2 days before I left, Makoto sent another message. This time, the camera wasn't on Willow, it was on his parents. Looking at the three of them smiling around the hospital bed, I felt nothing. I still didn't reply. Instead, I opened my contacts and deleted Makoto, Willow, and everyone connected to them. On the day I left, the first snow arrived. I carried all the diaries I had organized last night and all the unsent love letters into the garden. The orange firelight illuminated my face and burned away all the memories of youthful affection. I tilted my head up, watching the drifting snowflakes, wondering how long it would take for the snow to cover the ashes. Just as I drifted into thought, the tightly closed gate suddenly opened. After being gone for so long, Willow finally returned, walking briskly. She glanced at me crouching on the ground, then walked into the living room. When she came back out, she stopped beside me. Seeing the pale pink envelopes, she couldn't help recalling that letter at the party. The heart that had stayed angry for so long finally softened a little as she spoke. I've been busy lately. When I finish things in a couple of days, let's sit down and talk properly. Talk? About the divorce? I smiled, lifted my eyes to her, and spoke with complete calm. There's no need to talk. The thing you wanted the most. I already gave it to you a month ago. A thing. What thing? Just as she was about to ask, her phone buzzed a few times. She opened the messages, and her brows and eyes softened with delight. Seeing her expression, I tossed the last few love letters into the fire and stood up. My tall figure blocked the flames behind me. She finished replying just as the letters burned out, and she forgot what she had wanted to ask. I personally escorted her to the door and opened the car door for her. A cold wind swept in. Seeing how lightly I was dressed, she gently told me to go back inside so I wouldn't catch a cold. But I insisted on staying outside to see her off. Through the car window, she saw me lift my hand and wave, saying something softly. She didn't hear it clearly, but it was probably just the usual drive safely kind of reminder. She had heard it countless times over the past 3 years, so she didn't take it to heart. The car started and quickly disappeared from view. I stood alone in the snow for a long time before returning to my bedroom, putting on my coat, and carrying my suitcase downstairs. The snowfall grew heavier, flakes landing on my head, making me look from afar as if I had white hair. The taxi stopped at the villa gate. Before getting in, I turned back for one last look and repeated the words that had been barely audible earlier. Goodbye forever, this city, and goodbye forever, Willow. Chapter 9. Willow drove straight to the hospital. Today was Makoto's discharge day. Last night, he complained that he wanted to look at childhood photos, so she had gone home specifically to retrieve them. Carrying the heavy bag to the elevator, she brushed past a woman she didn't recognize. From the woman, Willow caught a faint, familiar scent, Makoto's favorite perfume. This woman had just come out of his room. Was she one of his friends? A trace of suspicion rose in Willow's heart, but the elevator arrived quickly, and she dismissed the thought, pressing the button for the 7th floor. When Makoto saw her, his face lit up with a radiant smile. The two of them flipped through the photo album together, reminiscing about the past, talking about their childhood. Willow soon forgot everything else weighing on her mind. By noon, the Ito family came to pick Makoto up. Upon seeing Willow, they immediately expressed their gratitude. Willow bowed politely, her tone extraordinarily humble. Makoto's injury is partly my fault. Taking care of him is the least I can do. Hearing that, Makoto gently patted her hand. I already said it has nothing to do with you, Willow. Yesterday I even called my parents over to explain what really happened. Don't keep blaming yourself, okay? Ito's father nodded approvingly. All these years, his mother and I have been busy with work. If not for you taking care of Makoto, who knows how out of control he'd be. It's us who should thank you. Makoto walked to Willow's side, ready to act spoiled again, when his mother tugged him back. You're adults now. and you have your own family. Makoto still clings to you and causes trouble. Don't take it personally. We'll teach him properly so he won't bother you again." The atmosphere in the ward froze instantly. Willow understood the implication immediately. Her breath faltered for a second before she controlled herself, restoring her composure. The smile on her lips faded, replaced only by formality and distance. Makoto's expression changed too, but pretending not to understand his mother's warning. He looked at Willow with a cheerful grin, trying to change the subject. All right. Willow and I grew up together. What trouble? She even promised to drive me home today, didn't you?" Willow lifted her eyes to respond. But when she met the meaningful looks in the parents' eyes, the words she had prepared shifted. "I did say that, but my secretary just called. There's something at the company I need to handle. Since uncle and aunt are here, I won't intrude." After speaking, she didn't linger any longer and turned to leave the ward. She had barely taken a few steps when Ito's mother called her back, handing her the photo album. "Willow, in the past, it was Makoto who wronged you, but he was young then and didn't understand how rare true devotion is. Don't take it to heart." Looking at the elder who had watched her grow up, seeing the guilt on her face, Willow gently shook her head. "Auntie, I've already let go of the past. I won't hold it against Makoto. Please rest assured." Ito's mother sighed. Her eyes filled with regret as she looked at her. "It's Makoto who lacked the blessing, and the two of you simply weren't fated to be husband and wife. I heard from your mother that the man you later married is very filial, very steady, and that your relationship is good. You must cherish him. He's the one truly worth your devotion, the one meant to grow old with you." Chapter 10. Willow understood that Ito's mother meant well. She also knew that her story with Makoto Ito had ended the moment she stood on that wedding stage and, out of anger, declared she would marry someone else. During the past 3 years, she had tried to forget the past and live her life properly with George, but how could she easily let go of someone she had loved for 18 years? So when Makoto returned to the country and came to her again and again, she eventually softened. Even if they could no longer be lovers, at least they were still friends, or so she told herself. Holding on to that thought, she allowed herself to go back to him, again and again. To be honest, whenever Makoto cried and told her he still loved her, her heart was moved, but those moments were like ripples stirred by the wind on a lake. They disappeared just as quickly as they appeared. Each time she was on the verge of falling again, she would remember that George was her husband. Again and again, she felt like she was trapped in a fog with no way out, until she heard those words today, and suddenly, it was as if someone had lifted the veil from her eyes. Thinking of that figure standing in the snow at dawn, watching her drive away, a wave of warmth rose in Willow's chest. She bowed deeply to Ito's mother, her voice filled with sincerity. "Thank you for telling me this. I understand now." After leaving the hospital, Willow returned to her family's old house. Her mother called her into the study, her tone unusually serious. "When you first got married, I thought George's family background didn't match yours, so I wasn't pleased with him. But in these 3 years, seeing how well he treats you, how he keeps the house running so smoothly, and how respectfully he treats us, I gradually let go of my resentment. You're not young anymore. I won't repeat myself. Let the past stay in the past. Stop clinging to what's gone. You're fortunate to have met such a good husband. It's time to settle down and live your life properly. Marriage isn't like romance. It's more like a slow-simmered porridge, patient, steady, lasting. You and George didn't have a strong emotional foundation before marriage, and you were young. Many things need to be talked through in time, or they accumulate into misunderstandings. Do you understand?" Willow hadn't expected her always reserved mother to speak so earnestly about these domestic matters, but she knew every word was true. She lowered her head respectfully. "You're right. I know what I should do now." Her mother nodded with satisfaction, then took out a box and slid it toward her. "These are the heirloom rings your grandmother gave me when I got married. Give them to George. The day after tomorrow is your father's birthday. Remember to bring George home so we can all have dinner together." Willow opened the box and stared at the pair of emerald rings inside. Their glow warm and old. She froze for a moment. Suddenly, she remembered the wedding from 3 years ago, the one that stirred up so much chaos. After Makoto announced over the phone that he was canceling the wedding, both families stormed off in anger. She stood alone at the center of the stage, heart completely shattered, and took the microphone, pouring out every emotion she had buried for years. She didn't even remember what she said. It wasn't until George stood up, pushed backstage by her panicked bridesmaids, and when he returned to her sight, that she finally snapped back to reality. The wedding march played. He had put on that slightly oversized suit, and step by step, he walked toward her with unshakable resolve. Together, they faced the thousands of curious, judgmental eyes below, fearless, steady, never backing away. Perhaps it was his steadiness that moved her. A sliver of courage rose from the ashes of her deadened heart, even though she didn't yet know the name of the man standing beside her. She had already made up her mind to treat well the person who would wear her ring. the one standing beside her for life, to never fail, the hand he extended to her, during the darkest moment of her life. Chapter 11. Willow placed the box containing the rings into the drawer of the passenger seat. Before closing it, she noticed that document inside. She frowned slightly, trying to recall when it had been placed there, but after searching her memory, she still had no clue. She was about to take it out when Makoto's call came in. Willow, my parents left already. My friends want to celebrate my discharge tonight. Are you done with work? Want to come hang out? This time, Willow didn't hesitate. She rejected him directly. Makoto's tone deflated instantly. He was about to act spoiled again when she quickly made up an excuse about having a meeting. After hanging up, she pushed the drawer shut and drove home. The villa, once lively, felt unusually quiet today. Willow looked around and found that many things were missing. The book he left on the coffee table months ago. The glass on the dining table. The throw pillow on the sofa. All insignificant little things George had bought. Before, she never noticed them, but today, for some reason, she immediately sensed something was wrong. She called the housekeeper over. Why are there so many things missing in the house? Sir threw them away. The elderly housekeeper replied respectfully. Then, seeing the look on Willow's face, he hesitated before continuing. Miss, are you really going to diver? Willow, with this heavy snow, I knew you'd definitely be home. How long has it been since you've hung out with your friends? Come on, let's go drink. A few of her close girlfriends burst through the door, linking arms with her and dragging her out before she could say anything. The unfinished word, divorce, was swallowed by the noise. Although they said they were there to drink, they knew Willow couldn't handle alcohol, so they only gave her cups of warm water. Watching the group playing games, Willow took a couple of sips, then pulled out her phone and typed a message to George. Did you go out today? Where did you go? When will you be back? Send me the address, I'll pick you up later. The roads are slippery in the snow. Be careful, don't fall. Before she could hit send, her friend, who had just gotten off a call, suddenly changed expression. She grabbed Willow by the arm and shouted urgently to the others at the table. Let's go. We're changing places, something big just happened. Everyone stared at her, confused by her abrupt words. Chapter 12. Hearing the noisy commotion inside, everyone instantly grew excited and squeezed onto the bus together. All the way there, everyone kept asking where they were going, but she didn't say a single word, only shot occasional glances at Willow. The destination was a bar they had never been to before. Right before getting off, that close friend pushed Willow to the very front and then said a few strange, cryptic things. Willow, I've been hearing rumors for a while. I only held it back until it was absolutely confirmed. If you see something later, don't blame me. I'm really doing this for your own good. A group of girls who had grown up together, hearing her speak in such a serious tone made the smile on Willow's face slowly fade. She looked at the door right in front of her, hesitated, and then lifted her hand. When the door swung open, the scene inside the bar was revealed without obstruction. In the dazzling hall of flashing lights and swirling colors, everyone was immersed in the deafening DJ music. A white spotlight shone down, illuminating a couple passionately making out on the center stage as clear as day. Even from a distance, Willow recognized Makoto instantly. He was holding a flamboyant, seductive beauty. The woman's cheeks flushed unnaturally red, while his hands roamed over her back without pause. He looked nothing like the playful, capricious rich young master he usually was. They were like two completely different people. For a moment, the 7 or 8 people standing at the entrance fell into silence. Contrasting with their silence was the rising, feverish sound of people cheering inside the hall. Damn, he just got out of the hospital and he's already going this wild. They've been kissing for half an hour, aren't they gonna run out of breath? What's wrong with a couple kissing if their relationship is hot? You jealous or what? Actually, Makoto's been dating this girlfriend for like half a year, right? Still not tired of her. You think this one will last longer, maybe longer than Willow? Don't bother guessing Makoto's thoughts. He's just fooling around. Look at Willow, he dumped her for 3 years. And now that he's in the mood again, he toys with her like teasing a dog. Hearing Makoto's friends run their mouths so shamelessly, the girls' tempers shot up instantly. They couldn't swallow the insult. Pushing through the crowd, they stormed in. One went to shut off the music, one turned on the lights, and the rest jumped directly onto the stage, surrounding the two people who were still kissing as if nothing else existed. The sudden disruption shattered the lively atmosphere. Makoto snapped back to his senses and saw the unexpected intruders. His expression darkened immediately. He scanned the area, and when he didn't see Willow, he exhaled slightly in relief and glared at the group with a cold face. How did you even know about this place? I didn't invite you. What are you doing here? Still furious, the girls snapped back without hesitation. It's just a bar, you can come but we can't. Since when do we need your invitation? What? You're here dating your new girlfriend and afraid we'll see and go tell on you? Makoto didn't want to lose face in front of his friends and girlfriend. So irritation flared up and he retorted sharply, "Afraid? Why would I be afraid? I'm just dating someone, why should I care if Willow knows? She's a married woman. Is she supposed to interfere with her ex-boyfriend's dating life?" The moment he said this, his buddies started clapping and whistling. Seeing their reaction, not angry but amused, Makoto's heart tightened. He sensed something was wrong, and just as he was about to ask, the girls cut him off. Pretending to be some heartbroken ex still hung up on Willow, "Done acting now. Makoto, you've been with another woman for half a year. Why eat from one bowl while staring at another? Why go messing with Willow again?" Hearing that, Makoto's girlfriend also realized something was off and her expression darkened. Makoto hadn't expected anything like this today. He knew the situation was spiraling out of control. With a reckless heart, he spoke without thinking. "Wasn't she the one shamelessly begging me to get back together? She annoys me to death. You think I'd chase after her? She stuck to me like a simp. I couldn't shake her off. I got sick of her 3 years ago. That's why I ran away from the engagement. It had nothing to do with studying abroad. The only person I like now is my girlfriend." "So these are your true feelings, huh?" Facing their harsh questioning, Makoto refused to back down. He raised his chin, like a proud peacock. "Of course, even if Willow herself were standing here, I'd tell her the truth word for word." With that declaration, no one spoke again. The girls instinctively stepped aside together, creating a clear path. Watching their coordinated movement, Makoto's right eyelid began to twitch violently. He turned his head, and saw the familiar figure standing at the doorway. The restlessness in his heart instantly froze over. The crowd watching the drama below also turned with him. Chapter 13. 3 years later, Willow once again became the center of everyone's attention, but unexpectedly, there was almost no expression on her face. None of the emotions people imagined, anger, disappointment, pain, embarrassment, showed even a trace. There was only the calmness that comes after countless storms, and the serenity of a curtain finally falling. Across the vast sea of people, she looked at the person on the stage whose face had turned deathly pale. The men she had loved for many years yet could never truly have. The groom who had left her alone at the wedding venue. At this moment, he felt like a complete stranger, as if she were meeting him for the first time. But she had known him for 18 years. "I listened to every word without missing a single one. Thank you for finally not lying to me anymore, and for at last telling me the truth, Makoto." Amid countless whispers, Willow's voice was calm and composed. It didn't sound like confrontation, more like she was commenting on today's weather. The girls on stage looked at her expression and suddenly recalled the scene from 3 years ago when George first appeared before them. The exact same expression, the exact same tone, the exact same feelings. "I am currently single. If you don't mind, I can become your groom, Willow." After announcing this to everyone with complete tranquility, Willow lowered her eyes, and a faint smile curved her lips. She also thought of George, and only now did she finally understand the kind of pressure George had been under that day when he chose to stand by her side. Such a quiet, cautious man, yet he had gone that far for her. It took her 3 whole years to finally see his grand, burning love. Fortunately, it still wasn't too late. Willow no longer intended to waste time on things unworthy of her. She turned around and left without hesitation, step by step, firm and unwavering. Back in the car, Willow opened her phone and sent the message she hadn't managed to send earlier. With a ding, she thought George had replied instantly and lowered her eyes to look. Among the white and green interface, the red exclamation mark was glaringly obvious. She blinked rapidly at the friend verification notice below. The note and the profile picture in the center of the screen were unmistakable. It was George, but why had he suddenly blocked and deleted her? Willow couldn't understand. She sent several more messages, they all showed she was blocked. Her heart, previously calm as still water, rippled with countless waves. Rationality told her something must have happened, but her emotions desperately tried to smother that rationality, grasping at any other explanation just to soothe her. He had still seen her off this morning like always. His complexion looked normal. He even waved goodbye. Maybe he just tapped the wrong button. Willow tried hard to reassure herself, but the way she sped off, flooring the gas pedal, betrayed her panic. She ran 10 red lights in a row before making it home before dark. Inside, everything looked the same as when he left, still cold and quiet. So quiet, it didn't feel like home anymore. Seeing the kitchen light on, she thought George was inside making sobering soup and rushed straight in. There was soup boiling on the stove, but it was the housemaid watching the pot. Seeing Willow, she quickly bowed and hurriedly ladled a bowl to hand it over. Willow hadn't drunk any alcohol, but still took a small sip. The hot soup slid down her throat, yet it wasn't the taste he was used to. Willow frowned and asked, "Isn't the sobering soup normally made by Mr. George?" The maid's clear eyes widened in shock, and she apologized in panic. "Sorry, miss." Before moving out, "Sir taught me how to cook it. but I didn't write it down properly. Please wait a moment, I'll make a new pot right away. From her entire explanation, Willow heard only one phrase. Before moving out, her heart, pounding uncontrollably, plummeted straight into an endless darkness. When did he move out? This morning, after you left the house. Chapter 14. Living room, bedroom, study, bathroom. Willow searched through every corner of the house, yet there was still no trace of George anywhere. The old butler, drawn over by the noise, looked at her panicked, disoriented appearance and finally voiced the question he had been holding back in his heart. Miss, why did you agree to divorce, sir? Divorce? Hearing that word, Willow felt the entire world spin around her. She had never heard George mention such a thing. Why did everyone assume she was the one asking for a divorce? She tried desperately to recall everything that had happened recently, attempting to find some clues. David's strange behavior at the cafe, the plane ticket she hadn't gotten the chance to look at properly, the cryptic things George said this morning. The thing you wanted, I already gave it to you. Thinking of that sentence she never got to clarify, Willow became increasingly anxious. She had her secretary investigate George's whereabouts while she drove out to search for him herself. She first went to the old house he lived in before the marriage, but only saw its doors and windows sealed shut. Neighbors nearby told her George had returned yesterday, throwing away many belongings, looking as though he was preparing for a long trip. The next second, her secretary sent a message. President Liu, I found that Sir bought a plane ticket to San Francisco half a month ago. He departed this morning and should have arrived by now. So George wasn't simply moving out, he had decided to leave the country. Realizing this, a chill spread through Willow's heart. She couldn't understand why George would suddenly think of divorce, nor why he would leave without any warning. Becoming her husband, standing by her side, wasn't that what he had always wanted? After instructing her secretary to book a flight to the U.S., Willow returned to her car. She didn't start the engine. She leaned back against the seat, staring blankly at the chat interface showing she had been blocked. Her phone, uncharged all day, issued a low battery warning. She pulled open the drawer to take out the charging cable. Her gaze swept across the document folder. This time, she finally opened the file that had been sitting untouched for a month. The moment she saw the words, divorce agreement, Willow's hand trembled uncontrollably, but she still forced herself to stay calm as she flipped through each page, until she reached the last page, and saw her own signature written in her own handwriting. She froze completely. Why was her signature on a divorce agreement? Why did she have absolutely no memory of signing it? Willow's mind raced, trying to connect all the details she had ignored or forgotten. The one who drafted the agreement was George, and the only time he had asked her to sign something was a month ago. At dusk, he told her he had a gift for her. She hadn't had time to look at it, signed it, and left. George had placed the agreement in her car afterward, reminding her many times to check it. For an entire month, the agreement had already been in effect, but she had never opened it, not even once. The thin stack of papers, barely a dozen pages, felt unbearably heavy in Willow's hands. At this moment, she finally understood why George left. She sensed the wavering in his heart throughout their marriage. He thought she would return to Makoto and divorce him, so he chose to leave first, and the gift he had given her was this divorce agreement. He had decided to give her freedom, to fulfill the infatuation she had been unable to let go of for so many years. Chapter 15. When the plane landed in San Francisco, it was just afternoon there. Outside the arrival gate, I saw a teacher I hadn't met for a long time, Anna. Back in my senior year, she resigned from University B and began her own entrepreneurial journey. After 3 years of hard work, she had successfully established herself in Silicon Valley. I had accepted her job offer. This was why I decided to go abroad. This outstanding woman, barely in her early 30s, had always been close to her students back in school. Now that she was in the professional world, she still carried no airs. The moment she saw me, she waved warmly. George, long time no see. I pushed my suitcase over, smiling as well. MS. Sue, long time no see. I already quit my teaching job. Don't call me teacher if you don't mind. Just call me Anna from now on. Her warm, cheerful temperament made me, someone still not used to being in a foreign country, feel unexpectedly comforted. I didn't insist on being formal and simply called her Anna. Anna responded with a smile and pulled me along toward home. On the way, we reminisced about many things. From funny moments in class to farewell gatherings, both of us were filled with emotion. George, when you finished your master's program half a year ago, I invited you to the U.S., but you didn't accept back then. What made you change your mind so suddenly? My eyes paused for a moment, then returned to normal quickly. After thinking for a few seconds, I chose my words carefully. At that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. And I also didn't want to go abroad because of my family. So I didn't accept your offer. But now I've figured it out. Since I'm not sure what lies ahead, I might as well try exploring, maybe along the way. I'll find a new dream. Anna had been through the same stage and understood how lost young people could feel when they first entered society. She comforted me with a few gentle words. Life is always one step at a time. Look at me. I taught at a university for several years before realizing I wasn't suited for the ivory tower life. So I stepped out to see the world. You're still young. Feeling lost is normal. But as long as you take this brave first step, I believe you'll find your direction. With Anna herself as proof, her words felt like a dose of reassurance. After she parked the car, she brought me to the apartment. A standard 2-bedroom, 1 living room layout, facing south with plenty of sunlight, and a supermarket right downstairs. Seeing how clean and bright the room was, half my exhaustion faded away. Anna pulled me around to show me everything, explained all the important details, and then took me out for dinner. After eating, we stopped by the supermarket to purchase the essentials. After sending me home, she didn't disturb me further. She left her address and then departed. I took a shower, lay on the bed, and looked at the sky slowly darkening outside the window. Suddenly, everything felt unreal. Yesterday at this time, I was still wrapped in a blanket in the villa in City A, watching the heavy snow outside the window. And today, I had already flown across the ocean to another city, starting a new life alone. The room was quiet. Lost in my thoughts, I soon fell asleep. I had a dream. In the dream, I sat at Willow's wedding. And this time, Makoto didn't run away, he married her. I watched them exchange rings and vow to spend their lives together. I left during the moment everyone cheered for their kiss and returned to the silent campus, where I buried myself in studies for 3 years. After graduation, I flew to America to begin a new life, never returning again. And in this short lifetime, the only connection between Willow and me was those 4 years as classmates. After that, her bridge was her bridge, my road was my road. I was forever the stranger whose name she never remembered. Perhaps the dream felt too real. When I woke up the next day, I was still half dazed. I couldn't distinguish reality from the dream. I sat on the sofa alone for a long time. It wasn't until noon, when Anna called, that I finally snapped out of it. George, are you up? I'm downstairs at your building. Want to get lunch together? Chapter 16. I found Anna's car in the parking lot. I pulled open the passenger door, and as I bent down, I caught a glimpse of someone sitting in the back seat. Out of courtesy, I didn't look closely, thinking I would wait for Anna to introduce them. After I sat down and fastened my seatbelt, the person beside me didn't speak, but a familiar voice came from the back. Did you rest well, George? Hearing that familiar voice, I jerked my head up. Through the rearview mirror, I saw a familiar face. It was Willow. Though it had only been 1 day since we last saw each other, she looked exhausted, as if she hadn't rested in a long time. Yet her eyes, when they met mine, were clear and unwavering. For a moment, countless words rose to my throat, but I didn't know where to begin. In the end, I said nothing at all. The car fell into silence. A minute later, Anna finally sensed something off. She quickly turned to glance at me and tried to ease the atmosphere. George, this is your classmate Willow. Don't you recognize her? She just landed and called me wanting to catch up. Since you two were classmates, I thought we could all have a meal together. You don't mind, right? Of course I minded, but in front of Anna, who had no idea what was going on between us, I had to stay composed. So I forced a casual smile and replied, Anna, whatever you arrange is fine. I'm just a bit dizzy from the jet lag. Anna nodded with a laugh, telling me to take it easy, and then turned her attention to Willow in the back. Willow, are you okay? Do you want to go back and rest first? We can meet later. Willow hadn't slept for almost 30 hours, but she knew now was not the time to rest. So she shook her head lightly. No need. Then let's eat first. I already made a reservation. Funny, you two barely interacted back in school, and yet you ended up running into each other again in San Francisco after graduation. Running into each other. Even with my head lowered, I could feel the scorching gaze behind me. I knew that since Willow had come here, she had come for me. The heir of the Liu group, a woman raised amid applause and admiration her entire life, abandoned by someone as insignificant as me. Of course she wouldn't be willing to let it go. I closed my eyes and pressed my temples, trying to force my mind to function so I could deal with whatever was coming next. Meanwhile, the conversation beside me continued. Probably not a coincidence. I came to San Francisco for something very important, so meeting George was inevitable. Her tone suggested she knew me well, but the way I acted made it seem as though I didn't know her. The contradiction made Anna confused, and she asked, So you came to find George? Are you too close? Do you keep in touch often after graduation? Not particularly, I answered before she could. Hearing that word, Willow's gaze darkened slightly, and she pressed her lips together. Well, you were still classmates for 4 years. Your relationship might be average now, but if you stay in touch more, you'll naturally get closer. By the way, Willow, did you come to the US for work? Are you alone? Didn't your family come with you? I heard you got married. Your husband's also someone from your class, right? Hearing that, my heartbeat quickened, and I unconsciously clenched my hands. After a moment, Willow's hoarse voice finally came. Yes, but not long ago. He asked me for a divorce. I came to the US to deal with it. Anna hadn't expected her casual gossip to hit such a private matter and suddenly felt awkward. I didn't want the topic to continue, so I cut in directly. Anna, did you book a Western restaurant or Chinese restaurant today? How much longer? I haven't eaten anything since I woke up. I'm a bit hungry. Anna shot me a grateful look and immediately followed up. Western restaurant, just a few hundred meters ahead. We're almost there. Chapter 17. This meal lasted for an hour. During the whole time, Anna acted as the intermediary, helping both sides communicate. Watching me lower my head and focus on eating, Willow could only swallow all those questions she had held back for so long. Halfway through, something urgent happened at the company. Anna hurried off to deal with it and left first. What started as a teacher-student dinner turned into a divorced couple facing each other like in court. The atmosphere instantly froze. After I finished the last piece of steak, Willow handed me a napkin at the right moment. I didn't take it. Instead, I stood up, pulled out a new one. My tone calm but straight to the point. Whatever you want to say, say it clearly now. Willow's outstretched hand paused. She met my gaze. Although we had only been apart for one day, the person in front of her felt completely different from the gentle, polite husband in her memory. She didn't know whether I had changed, or whether she had never truly seen the real me. Thinking back carefully, in our 3 years of marriage, except for those intimate moments in bed, she had rarely looked at my face, and rarely noticed any change in my emotions. I was like a still lake, no wind, no waves, standing quietly where she could see me whenever she turned around. Over time, she slowly forgot where this lake came from, or why it stayed there without moving forward. Just when she had grown used to it, the lake suddenly began to flow, unstoppably, toward a distant place she could no longer reach. She barely managed to catch up, only to be startled to find that the lake wasn't as calm as she had always imagined. Nor would it stay in one place forever for her selfish desires. Everything she had perceived before was nothing but her own self-imposed illusion. Facing this brand new version of me, someone she had never truly met, Willow found herself at a loss. But she knew that the reason I wanted a divorce must be connected to her. So from the very beginning of this negotiation, she sincerely expressed her apology. George, I'm sorry. In the past 3 years, I failed to fulfill my duties as a wife. I didn't give you a proper family atmosphere, and I ignored all your efforts. I'm truly sorry. I knew every word she said at this moment was genuine, but I wasn't moved by these belated apologies. I understood that from the very beginning. She and I were a mistake, something that was never going to end well. Expecting someone who doesn't love you at all to build a family with you and spend their whole life devoted to you. That was an impossible fantasy to begin with. Not to mention, she had never let go of someone else from start to finish. The reason I brought up divorce was simply because I had finally realized how childish and laughable I had been 3 years ago, and I just wanted to correct the path I had taken. It had nothing to do with responsibility, nothing to do with atmosphere, nothing to do with effort. So I only told her one thing. I don't need your apology. All I need is for you to submit the divorce agreement. Then mail me the divorce certificate. Cash on delivery is fine. Willow froze. On the plane here, she thought there was still a chance. She stayed awake the entire night, thinking about how to apologize and win me back. But only at this moment did she realize how firm my resolve truly was. Looking at my calm face, a trace of panic flashed in her eyes. Her voice grew hurried. Do we really have to get divorced? Why? I looked straight at her, speaking clearly and decisively. I married you because I liked you. I'm divorcing you because I don't like you anymore. That's all. Chapter 18. After leaving the restaurant, I didn't go home right away. I went to Anna's company instead. Seeing me arrive alone, a trace of surprise flashed across her face. Where's Willow? After you left, she said she also had something to take care of. Since I'll be starting work in a couple of days, I figured I'd come take a look around first. Anna didn't think too much about it. Her tasks had just been handled, so she warmly gave me a tour of the entire company. After work, we had dinner together before I finally returned to my apartment. The moment I walked in and unlocked my phone, I saw a verification request. It was from Willow. Suddenly, her words before we parted surfaced in my mind. Since you've made up your mind about the divorce, I'll respect your decision. It's me who wasn't worthy of your affection, who failed to cherish your feelings. I'm sorry, but after all, we were married for 3 years. Even though we split up, could we still be friends? Friends? Between Willow and me, what reason was there to continue being friends? I couldn't think of any. In my view, we should part ways peacefully and then never cross paths again. So I didn't accept her request right away. By the time I was getting ready for bed at 10, I noticed she had sent another verification message. This time, it came with a note. There are some clauses in the divorce agreement I'd like to discuss with you. Since it concerned the divorce, I immediately tapped accept. She skipped all pleasantries and directly sent over the revised document. As I read through it carefully, I saw she had changed the original division of assets to an equal split, which meant that after receiving the divorce certificate, I would be taking half of her entire fortune. This sudden windfall from the sky left me uneasy, so I sent her a voice message. For the asset division, let's stick to the original agreement. You don't need to give me that much according to the marriage law, otherwise, I'd feel undeserving. Willow seemed to have expected this. She replied quickly, I know you didn't marry me for money. I didn't revise the contract to compensate you. This is simply the legal standard. All of it is rightfully yours. Don't overthink it. I explained a few more things, but she kept replying with the same stance. Eventually, I grew tired of arguing and let her decide. Days passed. I officially began my job and gradually adapted to my new rhythm of life. A month later, I received the divorce certificate, along with countless properties, shares, and other assets. Looking at the bank account filled with more zeros than I could count, I had no idea what to feel. In the end, I put all the documents and cards away, pretending nothing had happened, and continued living as usual. Winter passed. Spring arrived. As always, I went to work. Right after entering the building, Anna called me into her office. The meeting today was about arranging collaborative projects with several domestic IT companies. They needed to choose an assistant to accompany her back to the country for negotiations. Her gaze swept across the room and finally landed on me. George, you'll come with me. The moment she called my name, I was surprised. I had only been employed for 1 quarter. Logically, this kind of major project shouldn't fall to me. But since Anna had chosen me, all I could do was agree. After the meeting, we stayed behind in the conference room. She didn't beat around the bush. George, although we'll be negotiating with 4 companies on this trip, our main focus is the Liu Group. Liu. Hearing that surname, my heart tightened. Instinctively, I looked up at her. Willow. Anna nodded. After hesitating for a moment, she chose to be honest. After our last small gathering, Willow met with me again in private. The direction of this project was set during that meeting. She told me some things about you and her. Since it's your personal business, I never brought it up. But now the project is at a crucial stage. To ensure everything goes perfectly, I want to ask for your help. Come back with me to work on the negotiations. I know this request is a bit presumptuous, but I hope you can understand. Chapter 19. I didn't really understand what Anna meant. I was just a newcomer who had joined the company not long ago, with no background or connections. For a project this important, what was the point of bringing me along? Just because I was Willow's ex-husband. That was the only explanation I could come up with. But Willow didn't like me. Our divorce had been clean and decisive, and afterward she hadn't contacted me again. Why would Anna think Willow would compromise because of me? To avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, I spoke honestly. Anna, I didn't tell you before because I was already divorced, and I felt it wasn't important, but this project is a big deal, so I'll be blunt. Willow and I were basically a fleeting marriage. She didn't love me, and we didn't have much of a relationship. The divorce was peaceful. As far as I know, she's sentimental, but when it comes to major decisions, she sticks to her principles. If you think taking me along will increase the chances of getting this collaboration, then I'm afraid I might have to disappoint you. Hearing one of the people involved describing his own marriage like this, Anna found it strangely fascinating. She gestured for me to sit and couldn't help asking a question. Are you sure Willow doesn't have any feelings for you? I nodded immediately. Seeing my firm expression, Anna couldn't help recalling what Willow had told her before leaving San Francisco. Professor Sue, George and I, we're actually married, or more accurately, we're divorced. I didn't do well in this marriage. He became disappointed in me, so he asked for a divorce. He was very firm about it, and I didn't want to make things harder for him, so I agreed. But personally, I want to repair this relationship. I just need time to calm down and think. George definitely won't want to return with me, so could I trouble you to look after him for a while? As a gesture of thanks, I'm willing to discuss the RO project with you. Even though a long time had passed, Anna could still clearly remember Willow, the discouraged expression on her face, and the sincerity in her voice. It was hard to believe that someone like Willow would hand over a project countless companies in the IT field had been fighting for, just because of an ex-husband she supposedly didn't care about. But since Willow had said there were issues between the two of us, Anna didn't pry further. She simply asked for my final opinion. As for the project, I'm here, so you don't need to worry. The reason I want to take you along, part of it is personal, and part of it is to train you. Just treat it as a normal business trip. Follow the procedures and do your part. Is that okay? Having worked with Anna for a while, I knew she was straightforward and wouldn't scheme behind my back. And this trip really was a rare opportunity, one I didn't want to waste. So after thinking it over for a long time, I agreed. The departure date was set for a week later. I worked while packing my luggage. The closer the date came, the calmer I felt. Looking back on the past, it all felt like a dream. Now that I'd woken up, I was completely clear-headed again, no longer attached to what was gone. As for Willow, she had simply returned to where she started, someone I used to know, and I had already decided how I would face her when we met again. Chapter 20. Returning once again to this familiar city, my mindset had completely changed. Pushing my suitcase, I walked out of the airport with Anna, chatting and laughing along the way. While talking, Anna spotted her parents and waved to them from afar. She introduced me to them, and they warmly invited me to go home with them. Knowing the three of them must have endless things to talk about after reuniting, I didn't want to intrude, so I politely declined. After we parted temporarily, I pushed my suitcase outside alone, only to realize it was pouring rain. There were Northwest cars on the road. I opened a rideshare app, about to call a car, when a black vehicle suddenly stopped in front of me. Instinctively lifting my head, I saw Willow walking toward me under an umbrella. Months had passed, she had grown much thinner, dressed in a dark green trench coat, tall, quietly elegant, like a slender stalk of bamboo. I didn't expect her to appear, and for a moment, I froze, but she walked straight up to me, eyes filled with emotions I couldn't read, and spoke in a low voice. "Long time no see. George, have you been well lately?" I stepped back a few paces without thinking, putting distance between us. "Fine." My indifferent reply made something faintly sink in her expression, but she understood, this was normal. After all, we were just a divorced couple now. She quickly composed herself and glanced at the suitcase in my hand. "It's raining too hard. Let me drive you to the hotel." Seeing the driver assigned notification on my screen, I shook my head. "No need, I already got a ride." "Then take this umbrella, otherwise your luggage will get soaked." Her sudden thoughtfulness made something twist strangely in my chest. "I don't need your help, and I don't see any reason for us to have further contact. President Liu, don't you agree?" Her fingers, hidden inside her sleeves, trembled ever so slightly. She forced a small smile, strained and fragile. "Now that we're divorced, we can't even be friends." I put my phone away, took out my own umbrella, and looked toward the approaching car. Before the divorce, we were only former classmates. After the divorce, it can stay that way. You and I come from different worlds. There's no need to pretend we're friends. Every word was clean, sharp, and emotionless. This time, she was the one who froze. She watched as the driver loaded my suitcase into the trunk, watched me open the car door, watched me close the umbrella, and it felt like something was slipping further and further away from her grasp. Just as I was about to shut the door, she suddenly stepped forward and grabbed it. Amid the pounding rain, her voice rang out clear and resolute. "I don't believe we're from different worlds. George, you may have heard countless people whispering about your background, questioning your decision to marry me, but I want you to know, I have never looked down on you. Not once did I think you were unworthy of standing beside me. You simply accepted what you had and bravely pursued what you loved. There is no reason for you to belittle yourself." After living alone for nearly 10 years, it was the first time anyone had ever said something like that to me. I turned my head toward her, the corner of my lips lifting slightly, rarely. "Thank you." Chapter 21. After settling my luggage in the hotel, the rain had stopped. Carrying my bag, I headed to the restaurant to meet David. The two of us hugged tightly and immediately started catching up on each other's lives. When David heard that I had taken half of Willow's assets, his jaw dropped so wide it could swallow a plate. He grabbed my shoulder, ignoring the strange looks from the people nearby, and screamed uncontrollably, "Aha, my brother is rich now. Damn, if I cling to your thigh, does that mean I won't have to worry for the rest of my life?" I quickly covered his mouth, apologized to the annoyed customers around us, and dragged him into a private room. Once we were alone, David blinked dramatically and whispered, "So, did the money actually arrive?" "It did, but I don't dare spend it. It feels like some windfall that'll be taken back any moment." David couldn't stand hearing that. He grabbed my arm and lectured me earnestly. "What windfall? This is your legal share. If Willow's that generous, then just use it. What's there to feel guilty about? It's not like you held a knife to her throat and forced her to marry you." He wasn't wrong. Seeing that I was slowly relaxing, David grinned, picked up the menu, didn't even bother looking at it, and slapped it into the waiter's hand. "Your most expensive Australian lobster or whatever, bring me one." After acting rich, he leaned back proudly, looking extremely satisfied. "So, how was my performance? Felt realistic, didn't it?" I gave him 2 thumbs up and deliberately teased him. "Very impressive. I just wonder if you'll still look that confident when the bill arrives." "Ah, George, aren't you treating me?" After a big meal, David was completely fulfilled. Seeing his satisfied expression, I pressed the service bell. Just as I was about to pay, a mocking voice suddenly sounded behind me. "Well, if it isn't George." David and I turned around and saw a group of people coming down from the upper floor, mostly alumni from B University. all circling around Makoto as they approached our table. David leaned over and whispered gossip in my ear. George, the day after you left the country, the whole scandal about Makoto 2-timing and 3-timing blew up everywhere. Since too many people were involved, it even trended online. I heard it was Willow's best friends who exposed everything. His reputation nosedived. He panicked and tried to crawl back to Willow, but she didn't even give him the time of day. You should have seen his face when she rejected him in public, green and white at the same time. Funniest thing ever. Makoto, having caught bits of the conversation, immediately darkened. He glared at me with hostility, his voice full of resentment. George, didn't you leave the country? What are you doing back here? That has nothing to do with you. What are you so proud of? Don't tell me you think coming back means you have a chance to get close to Willow again. She never cared about you before, and she definitely won't now. I had no clue why he had such strong hostility toward me. I was already divorced from Willow, but I didn't want to argue with this group, so I paid the bill and pulled David along to leave. My indifference only made Makoto angrier. He quickly stepped in front of us, blocking the way. You stole my wedding spot and took half of Willow's fortune. You're just a scheming, gold-digging wannabe. What are you pretending for? Even with that money, look at yourself. That poor boy stench all over you. Don't get it on me. Chapter 22. A few of Makoto's lackeys burst into laughter after hearing his insult. David, furious, was about to rush forward to argue with them, but I quickly held him back. I looked at Makoto calmly, my voice light and steady. The money Willow gave me was something she offered on her own. Just like all those rumors about you, legitimate, justified, and absolutely true. After saying that, I didn't bother checking his expression. I simply dragged David away, stabbed right in the heart. Makoto flew into a rage. He shoved a passing waiter forward. The pot of steaming hot soup tipped over, spilling straight toward David and me. Just as the scalding liquid was about to hit us, Willow leaped in front. The burning soup splashed across her entire left hand. The exposed skin blistered instantly, dozens of bubbles rising all at once, and her face went pale in seconds. Makoto hadn't expected her to show up at all. He panicked, rushing forward to check her injury, but Willow held back the agony with sheer willpower, teeth clenched, and looked at him with eyes colder than ice. Out of respect for Uncle Ito and Aunt Ito, I've never confronted you for what you did, but if you continue acting like this, I don't mind teaching you a lesson. Makoto tried to explain, but she didn't give him the chance. She took David and me, both shocked and worried, and strode out. The cold night wind sobered me up. Seeing the burn on her arm, I grabbed the car keys from her pocket without a word. We rushed to the hospital. The nurse gasped at the sight of the wound and immediately called for the doctor. It was late, and David had work the next day. It took quite a while for me to coax him into leaving. Soon, only the two of us remained in the emergency room. Willow endured the pain silently. I turned around, took 2 tissues, and gently wiped the sweat threatening to drip from her forehead. She lifted her eyes, saw the guilt pooling in mine, and whispered shakily, "My injury has nothing to do with you. He targeted you because of me. I should be the one apologizing." In a moment like this, arguing about right or wrong no longer meant anything. So I said nothing and went to the pharmacy to get the medicine prescribed by the doctor. By the time I returned, her wound had already been treated. The doctor reminded us of many precautions before finally letting us go. I drove Willow back to her house, stepping into the familiar villa, seeing the living room almost unchanged from before. A trace of days passed through my eyes. The old butler saw me and immediately lit up with joy, rambling excitedly, "Sir, you're finally back. During the time you were gone, Miss has been waiting for." Halfway through the sentence, he noticed Willow's injured hand and froze. "Miss, how did you get hurt?" I ignored his first words and passed him the medicine, repeating the doctor's instructions before turning to leave. Watching my figure grow distant, Willow felt something inside her hollow out. She wanted to ask me to stay, but when the words reached her lips, they died there. Her hesitation and disappointment only made the butler more anxious. Unable to hold back, he chased after me and called out, pouring out everything he hadn't had time to say. "Sir, now that you're back, please don't leave again." These 3 months, aside from work, Miss spent her days staring at the flowers you planted, zoning out. At night she dreamed about you coming home. Every week, she flew to the US to see you, but she never dared contact you, afraid she'd disturb you. I hadn't known any of this. I thought she had completely moved on, that she'd started a new life. Hearing the butler's words, my first reaction was disbelief. Willow, wasn't she the one who only loved Makoto? Why would she do so many irrational things for me, her ex-husband? So I didn't take his words to heart. Instead, I told him seriously, "Uncle Law, Willow Liu and I are already divorced. I've put the past behind me. Whatever happens in the Liu family has nothing to do with me anymore. And don't call me sir, just call me George from now on. It's getting late. I'll head back." Please take good care of yourself. Chapter 23. After a brief 2-day rest, I returned to work mode. I followed Anna to negotiate the collaboration details, and I learned a great deal from the process. The project progressed unusually smoothly, everything unfolded naturally, without any obstacles. During the negotiation with the Lu Group, Willow Lu herself did not attend. She sent a vice president in her place. I quietly let out a breath and handed over the prepared contract. After reviewing the terms, the vice president expressed clear interest in cooperating but raised one condition. During the entire duration of the contract, the coordinator responsible for communication between both parties must be me, personally designated by the Lu Group. Anna immediately guessed the truth. This was definitely Willow's idea. She wanted to use this collaboration as an excuse to keep me here. After considering it carefully, Anna decided to ask for my opinion directly. So when we left the Lu Group building, we found a cafe to sit and talk. "George," she said, slightly hesitant, "I know it may be presumptuous, but, if you don't mind, could you tell me the story of your marriage with Willow?" I was silent for a moment, then eventually laid everything out, exactly as it had happened. 4 years as classmates, 3 years of marriage, together, they made up almost a third of my life, yet when telling it to someone else, the whole story felt weightless, as if I were recounting a stranger's past. Those vast, overwhelming feelings that once carried me through countless dark nights had long been worn down by time. Anna sat quietly after listening, unable to pull herself out of the emotions. She didn't know what to say. Any words in that moment felt pale and powerless. Silence flowed in the private room, looping endlessly. Seeing the heartache and regret in her expression, I smiled softly, my voice carrying the calmness that comes after surviving every storm. "Anna, I know you're worried. You want this project, but you don't want me to get hurt. I chose to tell you these old stories because I want you to know, I really have let go. Whatever their reasons are for making this request, I'll treat it strictly as work. I may not have much experience, but as long as you need me, as long as the team needs me, I'll do my best. I won't let anyone down." Hearing my firm promise, Anna's eyes filled with tears. This project meant everything to her. It was her decisive chance at success. She had given her all to secure this collaboration, and the key piece in all of it was me. Using wasn't a pleasant word, but the truth was simple. The only leverage she had was Willow's lingering feelings for me, and it was the only way for her to win this project. Thankfully, I understood her dilemma and was willing to help. All her complicated gratitude in the end settled into the single soft sound of 2 glasses clinking together. At the end of April, Anna prepared to fly back to San Francisco with 4 signed contracts. I went to the airport to see her off. We hugged for a long time. Seeing a familiar figure appear in the distance, Anna couldn't hold back and asked softly, "George, you loved her for 7 years, and now she finally understands her own feelings. Are you really not going to give her another chance?" I knew she meant well. She hoped I could find happiness, but only I knew how unbearable those 7 years truly were before I finally let go. If it had only been unrequited love, it wouldn't have been so painful, just regretful. But when I had believed I'd reached the unreachable moon, only to realize it was merely an illusion reflected in water, a person no longer yearns for the sky. Some things are meant only to be admired from afar. So I answered with just one sentence, "Anna, life cannot be lived twice. We all have to keep moving forward." Chapter 24. For convenience at work, I rented a penthouse apartment. The next day, someone moved in across the hall. It was Willow. During that month in City A, I often ran into her in various places, next to supermarket shelves, at the entrance of a hot pot restaurant, in some quiet corner of a park. For someone of her status, she really shouldn't have appeared in those places. I knew she had been following me. When we occasionally ran into each other face to face, we exchanged a few polite words like ordinary acquaintances. Other times, she simply followed behind me silently, like a shadow. Slowly, in my own little world, I got used to it. I even treated it like having a free personal assistant who didn't need to be paid. After becoming neighbors, our encounters grew more frequent, and Willow's smile became noticeably brighter. Occasionally, she would take the initiative to ask whether I wanted to take a walk together, have dinner together, or travel somewhere together. I always found an excuse to refuse. Every time I said sorry, her eyes would dim. Countless times, I thought she wouldn't ask again, but the next day, she would appear once more, as energetic and hopeful as ever, greeting me with warm enthusiasm. Watching her offer so much of herself, without reservation, reminded me, for no particular reason, of her college days with Makoto. Back then, she was like this too, afraid of being rejected, trying her best to please the other person, losing herself in the process. But I wasn't Makoto. I wouldn't shamelessly enjoy her kindness, nor toy with her feelings to feed my own ego. I only wanted to live each day well, to enjoy life, nothing more. Days passed. From spring to summer, Then to late autumn and early winter. The project that lasted nearly a year finally approached its conclusion. Coincidentally, the contract's end date was also my 25th birthday. I booked a flight back to San Francisco for that day. The night before I left, I packed my luggage until midnight, when I suddenly noticed small flakes of snow drifting outside the window. At exactly 12 o'clock, someone knocked on the door. When I opened it, I saw Willow holding a birthday cake. She was smiling as she said, "Happy birthday." But I could sense the sadness hidden beneath her expression. I was stunned for a moment, then quickly returned to my usual calm, thanking her politely. After she lit the candles, I pressed my hands together and made a wish. When I opened my eyes, I saw the faint glow of hope flickering in hers. "What did you wish for?" "The same as last year." The conversation ended abruptly. Willow suddenly remembered what had happened on my birthday last year, and the smile on her lips slowly turned bittersweet. I lowered my gaze to avoid her eyes. The atmosphere froze. After a long silence, Willow asked a strange question. "George, the day you left last year, when you sent me out of the house, what did you say?" I didn't hear it clearly. What was it? I honestly couldn't remember. Those cold, heavy memories, the ones I didn't want to revisit, had already been blurred and washed away by time. What I remembered vividly were only the warm, bright pieces of life, the moments that brought me comfort just by recalling them. And as a new year of my life arrived, all I hoped for was that the people I would meet, and the things that were yet to come, could end well. So I casually made up 2 simple lines and offered them as my answer. "Wishing you happiness, and wishing myself happiness too." Chapter 25. When I woke up, the world outside the window had turned into a field of white ice and snow. It was still snowing. As I went downstairs, I saw Willow waiting by the roadside. She walked over, trying to take my suitcase, her tone carrying a mix of emotions I couldn't quite decipher. "It's hard to catch a taxi in this weather. Let me drive you to the airport." This time, I didn't refuse. I could sense she still had things she wanted to say. And this time when I left, there truly wouldn't be a return date. Some things needed to be given a proper ending. After the car started, she drove very slowly. Whether it was because of the slippery roads or her doing it on purpose, I couldn't tell, but we had plenty of time. So I said nothing and simply watched the snowy scenery pass by outside the window. Minutes slipped by. Eventually, the silence became unbearable for Willow. She wanted to speak, to steady her panicked heart, to move me enough to stay. "George, do you remember the Christmas of our second year of marriage? It snowed really heavily that year too. My mother's health wasn't good, and you took me to the temple to pray for her. I drew a marriage lot, it said, 'May you earn the heart of the one you love.'" Hearing her speak, I also remembered that day. After she drew the lot, the fortune teller looked at the two of us and said something strange. Some love is destined to become suffering. If one understands that early, it becomes a blessing. Back then, I didn't understand. I even thought he was speaking about me, and I worried about it for a long time, because at that time, I truly wanted to spend my whole life with her. But looking back now, she was the one who drew the lot. Those words weren't meant for me, and the person she'd prayed to grow old with was never me in the first place, was it? Thinking of this, I let out a small laugh. "I don't really remember." Willow froze for a few seconds, then quickly searched for a new topic. Most of it was about the small, mundane moments of our married life. Many of them I had already forgotten, but she remembered each one vividly. I didn't know that over the past year, she had revisited those memories again and again, so many times that every detail was etched into her mind. She was trying to use those warm fragments of the past to move me, but there was no expression on my face. No hint that I missed any of it. Without realizing it, the car had already reached the airport. I picked up my suitcase and was about to leave when Willow called out to me from behind. She handed me a small box, her eyes full of hope. When I opened it, I saw a pair of rings. I recognized them. They belonged to Mr. and Mrs. Liu, the Liu family's heirlooms. Why was she giving me these? If this is a parting gift, it's much too valuable. I can't accept it. After being rejected again, Willow's smile nearly collapsed. Her throat tightened, and a trace of urgency flashed across her face. "Please take them. It's my wish, and my mother's as well." I shook my head lightly, my tone calm. "I know what this gift represents. That's exactly why I won't accept it. I've told you many times, the story has ended. Let's return to the places we originally stood." Each word struck her like a blade. She stood there in the snow, watching helplessly as I slowly walked away. Step by step, I never looked back. Only the snowflakes falling gently onto my head arrived as promised. They offered me the white hair till old age she longed for but could never have.